The sound echoed across the quiet neighborhood like a gunshot. Everyone turned. An old man with a decorated veteran cap stood frozen, his cheek red from the force of the slap. His cane wobbled in his hand. Across from him, standing tall with her arms crossed and a twisted smile on her face, was Karen. Not just any Karen, HOA Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of Maple Ridge subdivision. You think just because you fought in some war, you can park your truck wherever you want? She snapped, pointing at the patriotic decal on his pickup. This is my neighborhood. I make the rules here. The veteran, Mr. Thomas, didn't say a word. He just stared at her, his chest slowly rising and falling like he was holding back a storm. A small crowd had gathered now. Neighbors, kids on bikes, people walking dogs, all staring speechless. Then someone whispered, "Is she gonna get away with that?" No one moved. But something was about to happen that would change the neighborhood forever. Let's go back to how it all started. Mr. Thomas had moved into Maple Ridge only 2 months ago. He had saved up for years to buy a quiet place after serving the country for over 30 years. A widow, kind-hearted, and always offering a hand, he was quickly liked by most of the neighbors, except one. Karen lived 3 houses down. Tall, blonde, always wearing loud floral shirts and holding her tiny dog named Duchess. She ruled the HOA like a little kingdom. She had stacks of rule books in her living room and didn't hesitate to fine people for things like slightly overgrown grass or having the wrong kind of mailbox flag. From the first day Mr. Thomas moved in, Karen had her eyes on him. His old pickup truck had a faded American flag sticker on the back, and his porch had a wooden eagle statue. She hated it. "This is not a trailer park," she told her husband Steve one night. "I'm not going to let this neighborhood turn into a redneck museum." Steve, who mostly kept his head buried in the newspaper, just grunted. The next morning, Karen marched up to Mr. Thomas's home with a clipboard. "Hi," she said in a fake sweet voice. "Just a heads up, your eagle statue violates HOA Code 3.2.6. Mr. Thomas smiled gently. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't know. I can double-check the rulebook." Karen narrowed her eyes. "I am the rulebook." He chuckled softly. "Well, I'll check with the rest of the board. Maybe we can vote on it." That was the wrong thing to say. From that day, Karen made it her mission to make his life miserable. She sent letters every week, complaints about the color of his porch light, the sound of his old radio, even the way his bushes grew. But Mr. Thomas didn't break. He always smiled. He always helped. When little Billy across the street fell off his bike, Mr. Thomas rushed over with a first aid kit. When Miss Clara's car broke down, he gave her a jump and offered her a cup of tea while they waited for the tow truck. The neighborhood started liking him more and more. Even the teenagers waved to him when they skateboard past. That only made Karen angrier. One day, she stood at the HOA meeting in the community clubhouse, holding up a photo of Mr. Thomas's truck. "This man is ruining our aesthetic." People rolled their eyes. One man, Greg, who owned the local hardware store, raised his hand. "Karen, he's a veteran. Maybe show some respect." Karen scoffed. "I respect people who follow rules, not people who think wearing a uniform gives them a free pass." That night, she posted online in the HOA forum. "We must protect the image of Maple Ridge. No exceptions." People started commenting, asking her to chill out. One anonymous user even posted, "Leave the old guy alone. You're embarrassing yourself." She was furious. The next morning, she printed out a new violation notice. This time, it was about his truck being parked 1 inch over the property line. She marched over to his house and slapped it on his door. Mr. Thomas opened it just as she turned to leave. "Morning," he said calmly. Karen turned around. "You're being fined. Again." Mr. Thomas looked at the paper and then up at her. "Karen, this is getting out of hand. All I'm doing is living peacefully." "Peacefully?" she shouted. "You're cluttering the whole street with your military junk." That was the first time he looked upset. But he still didn't shout. "Those aren't junk," he said. "They're memories. Some of them from people who never made it back." Karen rolled her eyes. "Spare me the sob story. Take down the flag or I will." Neighbors had started peeking from their windows. Someone pulled out their phone and began recording. "I served so people like you could have the freedom to be annoying," Mr. Thomas muttered, finally losing a bit of patience. Karen's jaw dropped. "Excuse me?" He didn't respond. He turned to go back inside. And that's when it happened. She raised her hand and slapped him across the face. Just like that. Time froze. Everyone who saw it couldn't believe their eyes. And just then, from behind the bushes, A small voice said, "I'm calling the police." Karen spun around. "You think they'll arrest me? I run this place." But this time, she was very wrong. The whole neighborhood was about to change. But right before anyone could say anything else, the sound of screeching tires broke the silence. A black SUV pulled into the neighborhood. Fast. People stepped back. Someone whispered, "That's not a neighbor." The SUV came to a stop in front of Mr. Thomas's home. Two men stepped out in uniform, not police but something else. One of them was holding a folder with a seal on it. Karen's face turned pale. What was in that folder? And why were they here? The truth was about to blow the lid off everything. But first, let's rewind a bit. The weekend before the slap, Mr. Thomas had invited a few neighbors over for a small barbecue. Just hot dogs, some lemonade, and quiet stories from his time serving. He never bragged. He mostly listened. One of the guests was Jamie, a teenage girl who loved history. She was especially fascinated by veterans. She asked Mr. Thomas if she could interview him for a school project. "Of course," he smiled. "Come by any time." She did. And in that interview he showed her something. An old medal, wrapped in velvet. "This was awarded to me by the president," he said softly. "But it's not about the medal. It's about the people who never got to hold one." Jamie posted a short video clip on her social media page, tagging it, "Maple Ridge has a hero." The video went viral in the small town. People started recognizing Mr. Thomas in grocery stores. Some even brought pies to his door. But Karen never saw the video. She had blocked Jamie for posting unimportant things in the HOA chat. And that was her mistake. Because one of the people who saw the video was from the Department of Veteran Affairs. That's what led to the black SUV. And the men with the folder. Back in the present, the crowd watched as one of the men opened the folder and held it up for everyone to see. Karen's eyes went wide. Her mouth dropped open. But before she could say a word, another car pulled in. This time it was the police. And they were heading straight for her. The flashing red and blue lights bounced off the houses of Maple Ridge like fireworks gone wrong. Karen took a step back, her eyes darting between the two uniformed men from the black SUV and the police officers stepping out of the cruiser. "Wait, what is this?" she barked. "I didn't do anything. I'm the HOA president." One of the officers, a tall woman named Officer Daniels, approached calmly, but firmly. "Ma'am, we received multiple reports of assault. You allegedly struck a resident. Is that correct?" Karen threw her hands up. "Allegedly? It was just a..." She paused, realizing the crowd was still watching. "He insulted me." Mr. Thomas was still standing there, one hand on his cheek, quiet as ever. He hadn't moved an inch. Officer Daniels turned to him. "Sir, do you need medical attention?" He shook his head gently. "No, thank you. I've been hit harder by the wind. But this is something else." Karen stepped forward. "This is all a big misunderstanding. He broke HOA rules. I was just enforcing the..." "Karen." One of the men from the SUV finally spoke. His voice was calm, but powerful, like someone who'd seen much and needed few words. "You assaulted a decorated veteran. In front of witnesses. On video." He pulled out a laminated ID and held it up. "Special Agent Rick Alvarez. Department of Veteran Affairs, Federal Protection Unit." Karen blinked, confused. "Federal what?" "Mr. Thomas is under a special watch," Agent Alvarez continued. "He's been recognized for high-level classified service. His safety and rights are protected by federal law. Interfering with him is a serious offense." The neighborhood gasped. Karen stuttered. But he's just some old man with a truck." The other agent handed Officer Daniels a sealed document. She opened it, read for a moment, then looked back up at Karen. "Ma'am, I'm placing you under temporary detainment while we investigate. Please turn around." "You can't arrest me!" Karen screamed, panic rising in her voice. "I pay taxes. I'm HOA president. I have rights." But Officer Daniels had already pulled out the cuffs. "Karen Thompson, you are being detained for assault and interfering with a federally protected veteran. You have the right to remain silent." No, you don't get it," Karen yelled, backing away. "This is my neighborhood." Suddenly, Duchess, her tiny white dog, jumped out of her arms and ran toward the crowd, yipping. The kid caught her and held her tight. Karen was frozen, surrounded, exposed. She looked around, but no one came to her defense. Even her husband Steve had just walked out onto their porch and quietly turned around and went back inside. That's when her knees gave out and she sat down on the lawn. But before Officer Daniels could finish the arrest, Mr. Thomas raised his hand. "Officer," he said softly, "I appreciate what you're doing, but can I make a request?" She turned toward him. "Of course, sir. Let's not arrest her." "Not yet," he said. "Let's just all breathe a little. Maybe